see the envy me, passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean, bright lights like we at the garden, on P, when you started, whole team walk in me the party, if I can't make the play, I'ma lob it, if you jump, that's right on your head, had to put him to sleep, go to bed, I'm a star, drop 50 and left, from the logo like I'm Steph, put it up, knock him down every time, going hard like my life on the line, catch me on the course, I would've dime, never losing, I put it on mine, had to get out my shell, I've been laying low, they get real when it comes to the playoffs, they fight with me, know it's a KO.
Hey, welcome back to another live episode of the Pit Press Live. Coming to you live on Monday evening. I'm going to recap the UNLV Lobos game in Vegas over the weekend. But before we kind of jump into that, my name is Eric Moulton, your host, co-owner of the Pit Press, and I'm luckily honored to be joined by two really good friends and also co-hosts of the Pit Press, all the way from the Bay, Mr. Ricky Thompson. How's it going, man?
I'm doing well. Ever since the UNLV game, the sun's shining a little brighter here. Water tastes better. Food is going down easier. I was feeling sick at the end of that game, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I was nervous. So once DJ missed that free throw, I felt a lot better and was able to enjoy the rest of the weekend. So I'm happy to break it down with you two gentlemen.
Yeah, I could probably join you in feeling a little bit sick about that. But, that gritty win, they pulled it out. And I'm going to take a win any day of the week, and especially when you can take a tough one like that on the road. But before we jump into the details of that game, the voice of Western New Mexico and a Lobo fan since 1970, and the better half of the Nunez duo, Mr. Ed Nunez. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Eric. And I tell you, I think I was keeping track because I was doing a game up at Western, and I was texting back and forth with you, and you told me who won, and I told Rick. I got home from Silver City. We drove because we would have had to wait till Monday to get a plane. And I was like, no, I don't want to wait here Sunday. So we drove. And when I got back, I tried to watch it, and I could not keep my eyes open, man. I guess I was so tired from that trip and then doing the games. But I watched it yesterday, and then my wife and I watched the last 5 minutes again. She wanted to watch the last 5 minutes. So it's a great win. I thought they could win. I thought they could get a win there. They did. But as you both mentioned, down the stretch there, so many things happened and could have happened to turn things UNLV's way. It didn't happen that way. Good win for New Mexico, solid win, and they've got the big challenge this Saturday. But they're doing well right now, and that's a win that they haven't won there at Thomas and Mack since beating the Rebels since 2018. So they turned that tide around.
Yeah, well, let's not wait anymore. Let's get into it. Lobos roll out of Vegas 75-73 in a game, or 74-73. It was a 1-point win, wasn't it?
Oh, 75.
75. 75. Really close game. I don't think any team led by more than 8 points. I think the largest lead the Lobos had was 8, and UNLV led by as many as 3 or 4 points. Lobos led for most of the game, though. They led for plus 30 minutes of that game. From what I could tell, pretty much felt in control for most of it, and I think a lot of that was due to just the play, the remarkable play of Donovan Dent, which he just continues to amaze me at like every game. Heading into this one, I felt confident knowing that just the personnel they had, knowing what UNLV had done over the course of the last couple weeks. I know that they took down Utah State. I knew they took down San Diego State, but I still felt confident in knowing that the Lobos were a little bit more equipped personnel wise to match up well. But I was not expecting Donovan Dent to go out and have the type of game that he had. Right, his stat line: 34 points, 2 assists, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. But what stood out to me the most was his mid-range game and his feel kind of in the pick and roll. They threw a lot of double teams at him, and he just continued to attack the paint and just kind of in a magician fashion was just kind of weaving in and out and was unguardable, literally unguardable, and was just making shot after shot. And I wasn't really anticipating his mid-range game evolving like that, but we're kind of seeing that kind of his game unfold before our eyes. And Nick, I know that, or Rick, I know that you're paying close attention. You sent me a tweet earlier today that Ryan Hammer, who's a pretty predominant college basketball follower, he gets close and watches to a lot of programs throughout the country, and he was pretty adamant in saying that Donovan Dent definitely deserves to be in the All-American conversation. Right? Do you want to kind of go down what that video he talked about was, and how much praise he gave Donovan Dent?
Yeah, national NBA writer writes on the draft every year and follows college players throughout the season. Gave Donovan Dent a lot of praise, saying he, deserves some All-American attention. He's not the first to say that, but also saying that Donovan Dent deserves to be mentioned on NBA draft boards, possibly at the end, of the first round. I don't think that's a surprise to at least us on this show. I think for over a year we've known that he's going to be an NBA prospect. Since he was a freshman, it was clear that he had a special talent set that no one else, a few players in the league, no one else on the team had. Now that he's in control and has all the touches, we're really seeing him flourish. Monster game versus VCU was at 40 points. This game, 34, only 2 assists. But, he had to score in order to keep him in this game. He hit those 2 early threes. Was able to make a variety of shots. When I saw him on media day, I told him a lot of people have compared him to Kyrie Irving, and I agree with that. But I think he reminds me more of Kyrie Irving's godfather, Rod Strickland, who played in Washington on the Bullets and also played on Portland for many years. Just as smooth as they come, being able to manipulate the defense, slither through, and use body movement to really put the ball up. And we just have to really appreciate that. We don't know if we only have 10 to maybe 15 games left with this young man at the helm. One of the greatest point guards we'll ever see come through Albuquerque. And it's just really a joy to watch him. And he's getting this national attention as well. It's great and well-deserved.
Yeah, and before I pass it over to Ed, I just want to try to encourage the listeners, the viewers, chime in. We'd like you guys join the conversation. We'd like for you guys to kind of leave us some comments. If you have questions, we're happy to ask or answer them. But please feel free to take part. But Ed, what did you take away from Dent's overall game, and then specifically the mid range, the jumpers, the two open threes that he hit, kind of stepping into that with a ton of confidence, kind of like an evolution of his game. I feel like. But what was your take?
He doesn't shoot a lot of threes. He'd made 11 going in there, but I thought when he hit those first 2, and it was a good pass out. It was an offensive rebound by I think it was Nelly, or I can't remember. Caught him wide open, catch and shoot right into his shooting pocket. He shot with confidence. Once he hit that one, and then the second one, played downhill, attack the gaps. They didn't. I was surprised at their defensive coverage, and the commentator made a comment saying they're not sending help. That's cake for him. they didn't get the ball out of his hands. I was surprised at that. I really was, because you'd want to do that. They haven't, but let's face it, no Mountain West Conference team has had any success in defending him or Nelly Jr. Joseph. They haven't. And Jeff Grammer said he thought Dent played a great game, but he said, hey, Nelly's game might have been even better. The way he dominated Bear Cherry in the paint there, and Nelly monster game, 22 and 18. But back to Dent, and Rick said this. Now, does he shoot the ball well enough yet to be, Kyrie Irving? Yeah, I get some of the comparison. Irving's an unbelievable shot maker, unbelievable. Donovan Dent's not at that level, not yet. But there's some shots he makes that I'm like, whether he get a shot against New Mexico State last year, and I still don't know how he made that. I can't even. I remember seeing it on SportsCenter for about for a few days. He makes unbelievable shots. When he attacks, plays downhill, there's really no stopping him. And UNLV, like I said, they didn't send a double. They didn't send a lot of help. I was kind of surprised about that, because once he got rolling, I didn't see them change their defensive coverage. I was a little surprised. So, Rick mentioned that about Lobo point guards of the past, and I saw a lot of them: Petey Gibson, Kelvin Scarborough, Phil Smith, Daryl McGee, Reese Gary, Greg Brown. This guy belongs right up there with all of them. Yeah, he really does. And I think one of the things he willed his team. He willed his team to win. Rod Strickland, it's a comment from John Romero there. Rod Strickland, New York point guard. I don't know if you guys saw the feature on HBO, the New York point guards. Strickland was really, really smooth, real smooth. Former DePaul player, played at San Antonio, Portland, played a lot of stops in the league. I don't know that he's there at that level. Now, I only say that because about the threes. Yes, when he gets downhill, he's great, gets in the gaps. It's a little bit different getting in those gaps in the NBA. Not saying he can't play. Didn't say that. I just, there's still some growth there. But as far as what he's doing for New Mexico, that's all I'd be concerned about. What a performance. He willed his team to win. And I think, again, it all started with those 2 threes. And I was kind of surprised. I said, he doesn't shoot many threes. And if you notice, a lot of his threes are line drives. These ones had arc, follow through, shot with confidence. So I thought it was a great game that he played on Saturday, along with Nelly Jr. Joseph. Those two really put the Lobos on their back, and New Mexico got the win.
Just one last comment, Eric, on Dent's shooting and his draft stock. One thing that NBA scouts do look at, though, is the free throw shooting, and that's usually a good indicator as if he's going to be able to improve as a long range shooter. This year, shooting 78% on a high volume of free throws. And like you're mentioning, the form and everything looks good. He usually shoots well when he's flat-footed. It's more off the bounce and things like that. I agree where he needs to become effective. But I think, looking at his free throw percentage has improved year after year. I think, obviously he has the work, and that'll show scouts, that hopefully he can improve from the outside as well.
Yeah, well, I think it was the game before this one. He was like 10 of 10 or 12 of 12 or something like that with double-digit free throws. So, yeah, I agree with that sentiment, Rick. I think that he is improving, and you could just tell on the floor, man. The way he maneuvers, the way he's being able to collect himself before he shoots, right? Like just getting off the floor, balanced. He had a couple fadeaways too that were just like, man, I've seen Dent try that before, but not look as smooth as it did, and not many of those shots were touching any of the rim either. So, Dent, the only player in the country to have 10 points and 4 assists in every single game this season.
Before this one, because he only had 2 assists.
Oh, okay. Well, but that's what they said before this one. But still, man, that's still pretty impressive.
Still good enough for a 3-time Player of the Week in the conference, which he was named today, right? So
yeah. Some other comments. Just want to show these. Eric Markham, Dent reminds me of Chris Paul. I agree with that one too. Chris Paul, I remember him in college, specifically here at the Pit. He torched the Lobos for, I think, close to 40 points. And his game's very similar, right? He gets in the lane, kind of finishes around the bucket, has a really nice mid-range touch. But he's definitely a pass-first point guard looking to create for others, and very similar to what Dent does. Looking more into this game, though, Ed, you're the big man on the show, right? You're the one that plays the post. It would be a crime of us not to talk about Nelly's performance with his 22 points and crazy 18 boards. Talk about a difference maker in that game. What'd you take away from Nelly in this one?
Not only that, what did he draw? 6 fouls, or I think he drew
Nine.
6 or 9 fouls. Okay, so he drew
fouls.
9 fouls. And if you look at him, we know he's strong. His muscles don't come bulging out or anything, but that guy's strong, man. He really is. If you look at some of the bigs he's gone up against the Mountain West, he's come out on top on just about every one of them. So I thought, again, he had offensive rebounds. He cleaned up a couple of misses and rebounding. And Rick knows this. Anticipate where the missed shot's going to be, and I thought he did a great job of being in an offensive rebounding position. Angles. Dennis Rodman would always look at angles. How many times the ball spun off someone's hand, and I thought Nelly did a great job. Physical hustle. They couldn't root him out of there. Bear Cherry's strong. He really is. Bear Cherry's a big guy, man. He dominated that guy. So I thought again, the offensive rebounds give you another possession. They really do, and they let you set your offense. And the way Dan is shooting. There was every extra possession in a game like that meant the game. It could mean the game, and it did. So again, Nelly has just had a fantastic season. He really has, and every game he goes out there and proves to us how really good he is. Amzil, we'll talk about him later. He's got plantar fasciitis, and if you've never had that, I had that about 10 years ago. That stuff is really painful, real painful. It takes a while to get over. He's young though. I'm sure he'll bounce back, but you've got to, it's right there on your heel pad, and it's real painful. So he was no factor. That's even makes Nelly's performance even better because Amzil averages 13 points, 7 rebounds a game, and so you didn't have him at all. They took him out with 9 minutes left in the game. He didn't come back. So I really think Nelly has just been. And Jeff Grammer said that. What if I told you his teammate Nelly Jr. Joseph might have actually had the better, more dominant week? Grammer said that in the Journal. And so I think you have to look at that. And again, not taking anything away from Donnie, man. 34 points and the way. And I kept saying, and I even rewinded. Like, damn, I got to look at that again. Man, wow, what a shot. So between the two of them, those two really willed New Mexico to a big conference win on the road. And again, it's a team that they haven't beaten at the Thomas & Mack since 2018. So, yeah, great performance by Nelly.
Yeah. I do want to stay right there. And Rick, I'm going to hand this over to you because I want to focus on it. But I put out on Twitter following that game, like just reading the stat line, I didn't really catch it until the end, but 3 total bench points for UNM in this one, right? And you only get 2 points from Amzil. And it all makes more sense now when you talk about that injury and just his overall effectiveness. I don't think he played for the final 9 minutes in the second half there. But when you hear that, the 3 points from your bench, you're only getting from 2 from Amzil, but you still come away with the gritty road win, 2 monster performances by Dent and Nelly. I mean, to me, that just kind of speaks more volumes with the amount of the impact that those 2 players had on the game. You're talking about the bench play more often than I think we all are on this show. What do you have to say about that? And what would you kind of rolling into what did you get out of True Washington that may have filled some gaps?
True, like we said since the beginning of the season, is really the spark plug and the linchpin of this offense. He's kind of the X factor, and when he plays well, the Lobos win. When he does not, they usually lose. In those 4 losses, he had under double-digit points. This game, he only had 9, but they were able to win. He's guarding usually the best guard on every team, whether it be the Cardenas matchup at Boise was on DJ Thomas most of this game. And his energy, Dent spoke about it after the game, and Dent knows how important it is. And he's trying to plug that battery in Washington's back every night, right? Give him that mushroom, that Super Mario mushroom that makes him grow and shoot to the sky. Because when True feels that, it energizes the rest of the team. In this game, obviously, he didn't score a lot, and neither did the rest. And as this gentleman is suggesting, when you have 2 players like Dent and Nelly that are able to take over the game, sometimes that's what it takes. Not every game is going to be the same, where everyone on the roster scores or everyone gets touches. Sometimes when it's tight, you just have to go to your big dogs, and our big dogs were better in this game, taking nothing away from Deaton Thomas of UNLV. He was every bit as good as proclaimed, but there are levels to this game, and Donovan Dent was on another level. I was even in the UNLV burner chat. Jason Kelly, who runs the Rebel podcast, I can't remember. He was nice enough to let me comment, and I had to let him know that DJ Thomas and Dent should not be compared any longer, as bad as UNLV would like to think that's true. One player is going to be Conference Player of the Year. The other is maybe going to be second team all conference. Nothing bad to say about him. But going back to your original question, Eric, the bench has not been good recently. Milicevic did check into the game earlier, probably because Amzel's hurt. He has played good, but after CJ hit that early three, nothing else came from the bench. And down the stretch, they're going to need games where somebody else steps up, because you can't expect Dent and Nelly to have these type of games night in and night out.
Sticking with True, I do think Dent is pretty smart and wise, and thinking that he's got to continue to feed him that energy to be that leader on the defensive side. And as Joe the Jeweler here, I think he's agreeing with you on the True. He does have that dog in him, right? He kind of the leader on that defensive side. He was matched up with DJ Thomas for most of the game, and he played smart, man. He had 2 fouls late there in the first half. He let DJ get his. He let him get to the lane and stayed away from not picking up that 3rd foul so that he could save that aggressiveness for the second half. But he made it hell on DJ Thomas for most of the game, right? DJ Thomas got his first 8 or 9 points at the free throw line, right? He was 0 of 5 from the field. He wasn't having a really good shooting night, and I think he finally turned the corner in the second half, but a lot of that could be attested to just how True was playing him defensively. The overall focus of the team was, we have to limit one player, and if we have to choose one player in that roster, it's going to be DJ Thomas, because Pitino compared him to Donovan Dent's playing style. He's very similar in the fact that he likes to get downhill, he likes to get in the lane, he likes to create, and he's really good at finding his teammates. And one of his teammates that he found pretty often in this one was Rishon, if I said that name right. He hit 5 threes. I can't take anything away from UNLV in this game. I thought they played pretty well. The Lobos just played better. So
I
think some clutch plays.
Ed, you also got to comment on the refereeing in the first half, since you're our in-house ref.
When I was at Western, Eric texted me and said Vern Harris had put them on the line quite a bit. There's another comment about Pitino maybe leaving after the season, but Rishwan, that's how you say it. And I'm going to get to Ronnie's question. I saw that in a minute. But Rishwan had 2 good looks, man. A sidestep 3, wide open head fake, and then another good look from the top of the key down the stretch. He missed them. And man, I was holding my breath. I already knew though, right? I already knew what the results were, but I'm like, man, those were wide open. And that guy's a good, shooter. Henley contested 3s, hand in his face, making them. That guy's a good player too. So again, Las Vegas had their chances to win. Yeah, they did. Vern Harris is some of those again. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. So we Western New Mexico beat Texas A&M Kingsville on Thursday night. It's one of our few victories of the season. But Coach Bunker had said, he told his players, go through the first bump, and go to the line. Go through the first. Stop looking to the officials for calls. Go through the first bump. Go. Stop looking at the officials. And Western was 26-29 from the charity stripe on Thursday. Unbelievable. And then 10-21 on Saturday. We lose, but 26-29. So refs are going to be refs. Vern Harris has called how many Final Fours, man? Numerous. And people are going to say, yeah, he had a bad afternoon, and refs suck. We hear it all the time. And believe me, in the business I'm in, I hear it all the time from, when I broadcast and I'm right there, or if I do PA, the refs, coaches are right there. Refereeing's not an easy job. And Vern Harris, like him or love him, say what you want. He's one of the best officials there is. And maybe he called a couple that were ticky-tack, and you got to play through it. So Ronnie's question, Why are games called different? Because there's different styles of play. That's why. They press sometimes they don't press. Sometimes it's very physical. Sometimes you let calls go. Now, for me, I'll just tell you, sometimes I'd say, hey, I'm not calling that. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Rick, you mentioned Nolan going to the hole against San Jose State. I ain't calling that, Rick. He's coming into size, man. They're blocking his shot. I'm not calling that. In fact, I would say to myself that he ain't getting that call. And when I'm looking at the call, I would say that to myself. They blocked that. Now, there's a rule amongst officials. If it's 80% ball and 20% other, let it go. Let them play, man, right? So you get both of that. You're not calling enough. You're calling too much. You didn't call enough for this one. You can't win. You can't win. So I'm not going to say Vern Harris probably did make some, Eric, you mentioned he put Las Vegas UNLV on the line quite a bit near the end of the first half. He probably did, but referees, and so to Ronnie's question, there's different styles of play. That's why games are called different, man. Not every game. And there's a question right there. Because it's not the same. Every game is different, man. Every game is different. I've got different styles. As a matter of fact, during our pregame conference, and believe me, we have pregame conferences. What style does this guy have? Hey, this guy likes Alan Branch, a guy that you guarded, Rick. Hey, Alan Branch likes to clear out. We got to watch this off arm. Or just for example, we got to watch this. We got to watch that. So each game is different, and each officiating crew, believe me when I tell you that they have an extensive pregame. Sometimes they get it right. Sometimes they don't. When a team loses, they're going to say the refs, cost us the game. When a team wins, they're not going to say anything. That's just life. That's life. If you're an official, that's the way it goes. They're not crying. Believe me when I tell you this too. They're well compensated, man. They're paid pretty well for what they do, and to me they earn it. It's a terrible job. It's one of the worst jobs I think I had. I loved it though. I loved being an official for the 22 years that I did it. And those things are going to happen. You're going to get some, and on the road too, Rick. And you know this too, Eric. You got to play through that, man. You got to play through it. That's just my thing to my team is control what you can control. You can't control the refs, so control what you can control. So there's my sorry about the rant, but that's what I think.
You heard it from the Stripes himself.
It's been a while, but you know what? I still make some calls up there to, when I'm commentating and, refs are human. That's all I'm going to tell you. We weren't perfect. I never tried to hose anybody intentionally. I made mistakes just like anybody else. And I tried to own up to them and get better. That's all I could try to do.
Yeah, I won't say too much more. Just one last comment on the referee piece. I've always been pretty, I guess, expressive on the fact that the Mountain West tends to call more fouls than other conferences, and then when those teams get to the big dance, they're not used to playing at the level of physicality and the pace. Like you look at this last game specifically, the Lobos are one of the fastest teams in the country. How many fast break points did they have in the game before this one? This last game, they had 4 fast break points. So they just weren't able to get out and run, and maybe UNLV style play attributed to that a little bit, but there were just so many whistles that just stopped the game, and things just have to happen. And it's just really hard to get to a rhythm. And Vern Harris just kind of has a reputation that the Mountain West have kind of I would say a lot of different fan bases tend to agree with and like to give him a hard time. So I'll leave it at that, but going to some other comments that have come up. Rick, you were actually talking about this right before we hit record or jumped on, but the Richard Pitino thoughts. I know that on Jeff Grammer's live stream before the game had made a comment. I don't know if it was taken out of context, but on the Pitino buzz, potentially leaving after the season, nothing has been confirmed. I think it's just a little bit of the jaded Lobo fan base kind of being more protective and just feeling like we're going to get gutted again at some point, because we dealt with it with Bronco during football season. We had to deal with it with Toppin leaving last year. So I don't know. What were your thoughts when you heard about that come up on the Jeff Grammer live stream, and then his response?
I mean, for context, someone asked if Jeff thought Patino would be gone after this season. And this, to paraphrase what Jeff was saying, I believe he was saying if the Lobos continue on their upward trajectory, then of course Patino is going to be entertaining higher, paying deals, and is wishing to get more money for the current staff, his assistants and program at New Mexico moving forward. So it seems like a known fact that, there are needs that Coach Patino probably wants within the program, and, rightfully so. If he's building the program up, I'm along the same lines of thinking if he doesn't get more resources to continue to build, and there's some other suitor that's willing to provide the type of thing that he believes, a program needs, then I would agree. But I think for the time being, we just need to enjoy this season. We don't know any longer as a college fan what players are going to be here year to year. It's too stressful to think about the coach at this point in time. We don't even know how this year is going to end to be talking about that. And of course, we know when a coach does well at a small school, regardless if it's New Mexico or Coastal Carolina or wherever it is, they're going to be suitors. If Donovan Dent doesn't go to the league, we know he's probably already getting other offers from schools right now. Those are just things that are happening. So as a fan myself, I'm trying to enjoy it, but it was interesting to hear, how straightforward some people are looking at the situation, that it might be a done deal if, the good times keep rolling and the trajectory keeps going forward.
Yeah, it's a tough situation to even talk about right now because we're right in the middle of conference play. The second half of conference play is about to begin, and the Lobos literally have probably their toughest stretch of games coming up. 3 Q1 opportunities, 3 really tough road games. So there's still a lot out in front of them. Like nothing's really made up just yet. And I know, Ed, this will probably strike a nerve with you. And I know that you get really animated talking about Alfred, but Alfred had it made here back in the 2010 era, right? He had it made, and then he left to greener pastures. Like, it's not a job that you turn down. I don't blame him for leaving, going to UCLA, a blue blood, just a brand that has a ton of notoriety and history. How do you say no to something like that? But that was short-lived. And then he ends up at Nevada. And now Nevada that fan base is not happy with how this season has turned out. And they're talking about Nevada possibly like trying to come up with booster funds to trying to find an exit fee to get Alfred out of there because they're that fed up. So it's like, it's not always greener on the other side. And when you have it made somewhere and you're successful, I kind of always go back to like a Gonzaga, for example, with that coach's name slips my mind, but he's been there and he's kind of built something, and he's been in the WCC. Now they're going to be transitioning over to the PAC, but he kind of just stayed there and he built them into a powerhouse, and that didn't really restrict them from anything. And I mean, I see the potential of that here at a program at a University of New Mexico. I can see that, and maybe I'm a little bit more optimistic than others. But at the same time, I do see that like Patino's not from here. He's an East Coast guy. His family might not like you here. I don't know. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but there's just so many things that factor into an equation like that when you think long term, these coaches have connections all over the country, and they can go wherever they want, and they can make double, even triple the amount of money that they're making at a Mountain West, right? Like a Power 5, Power 6 program, when you're going to have a P4 calling. So I think a lot weighs into it, but it doesn't always turn out the best. And Alfred's a perfect example of that.
You know what?
So
I wanted to weigh in on that because I've kind of softened my stance on Steve Alford. I think I never said he wasn't a great coach. My problem was I thought he's a very arrogant man. I really did. But I got to say this though, that you mentioned UCLA. Who could blame him? Nobody could blame him for that. But I think that he understood how good he had it here. I think he's kind of softened his stance. He seems to be a little bit more people oriented now. I didn't always think that when he was here. He was really, really arrogant. Now he won. I never said that wasn't the issue. Now get a load of this. Okay, now this you mentioned him exiting Nevada. Now what if Patino? Now you couldn't blame Richard Pitino if he got New Mexico to the Sweet 16, he's gone. See you later. There's no way he stays here. But Rick's point is a good one. Enjoy what we have now. My wife always tells me that because I'll be looking ahead like, man, I don't know if this guy's going to. She's like, you know what? Why don't you just enjoy what we have here? She's right. I'm always looking ahead. Okay, what's going to happen? Don't know what's going to happen and enjoy what we have right in front of our face because New Mexico is doing well, 17-4, 9-1 in the conference. But if Coach Pitino got New Mexico to the Sweet 16, see you later. He's gone. There's no doubt about it. And you couldn't blame him. I think there's other schools that are going to want to hire him for more money and, bigger schools. He's New Mexico's never reached the Sweet 16 if that happened. So, but, I couldn't say that it'd be out of the question if Alford's exiting there that his name would pop up here. I could not say that wouldn't happen. I don't know what's going to happen. That's a way out there in left field. We're thinking a lot. And to that question here, I probably would welcome him back, but his other Noodles, heck no way. If it's just Alford, yes, Noodles can stay wherever he's going to stay at, but not here. So that's my answer to that. But and I think it's still a reach right now. Alford, I think would want to come back here. I think he would, but for me, I could never see Noodles here ever again after the way he exited here and the things that he said about the fans. And after his son left here, he quit on us, man. He quit on the Lobos. So for me, I've got no feelings for. Although together they're a good team. I've never said that. They're a very good team. As Neil being an assistant to Alford, they're very good. But there's no way I could ever see that guy coming back. But Alford is not. I'm not saying that's even going to happen. I'm saying a 10% chance way out there in left field, way out there. But you never know.
Yeah, it's tough. Here's another comment on the Alford thing. Joe the Jeweler, let's keep it real. Lobos can't keep great coaches with the amount of money they can pay. Talking Alford, tell me the last time anyone turned down $10 million. Very true. With all due respect, Alford is not Alford without Noodles. That could also be true too.
You know what? That probably is. I think Joe.
I disagree. I mean, he went to how many Sweet 16s in 4 years at UCLA. Was Noodles even with him at UCLA? Oh, hell no, I don't believe that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm pushing back on that one. No. He had success at UCLA and had a few bad seasons and got booted out probably too quick. 3 Sweet 16s in 4 years. What are we talking about?
Yeah, well, the standard is so much.
I would welcome him back if it came to that. Let's enjoy Coach P. We got 2 new freshmen already recruited that he's committed. There's 1 more year of good Mountain West basketball, so maybe he'll stick around for 1 more before the conference kind of takes a nosedive. I did really quick, Eric. Yeah, go ahead. I think you're going to lead into it.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, speaking of the Mountain West and the Pac-12, there was some news that just recently came out. Nothing confirmed, but I mean, I think there's talks that are starting to surface now, and I'm not going to steal Rick's thunder because he was the one that uncovered it. So take it away, Rick.
Yeah, I think someone's mentioned in the comments as well, but we got to enjoy UNLV and the Mountain West as we can. It seems like they are trying to exit. According to reports, UNLV could be leaving the Mountain West for the Pac, whatever it is, 12, according to reports. This is due to the potential media deals that are supposed to be coming out, I believe, in March, where the Pac-12 is probably going to go to a non-traditional streaming service, a way to bring in more money, and hopefully UNLV is trying to get a part of that. So for the Mountain West and their media deal, I think it will be announced around the same way, but it'll be more traditional channels that we're used to finding. Other Pac-12 news, though, Texas State is also in negotiations to join the Pac-12 per the Big Mountain podcast, who we trust here, and that'll probably come out in March as well. So I just really see a problem in 2026 or going forward if UNLV is to leave, which it's looking like they're trying to do. There'll be no central hub any longer for the Mountain West. For the tournament and other events. It's just going to be a massive loss. They do have the biggest budget of the remaining teams that would be left in the conference. I believe Nevada is second after them. and someday we'll have to dive into those numbers about all the total budget. But it would be a massive loss for UNLV to leave. I can understand why their fans want to get out and join one of these leagues and get a part of that new money. So just keep a monitor of that, because next year will be the last year we get to enjoy some of these rivalries. Hopefully not this one.
I think Lawrence Chavez posts an interesting question. It's really tough to say with the budget that they have set out. I mean, they've operated kind of on a balanced budget for the last couple of years, but they just haven't had enough deep pockets to actually invest into the athletic department. And I mean, that there's a bunch of legislative sessions going on now. I think Fernando Lobos got his hands full with that. I think he's got to go up and play real hardball with the state of New Mexico and really ask for that. I don't know, what is it, the $5 billion oil surplus that the state is holding on to see if they could actually get more capital investment funding for UNM and New Mexico State athletics. I think both athletic departments would be wise to go after it together to see if they can somehow increase their overall budgets to kind of stay competitive, because at this point it's really hard to stay competitive. It's hard to stay in a conference, and if you go down to a smaller conference, then there goes your media revenue, there goes your chances at really getting into the tournament. You turn into a one bid league, and it becomes even harder for football to stay relevant too. So I think a lot of it factors into it, but it's Dave Williams is no longer with the athletic department. He went over with Eddie Nunez to Houston, associate AD. He was with UNM for, was it 10 years, Ed? Do you know?
6 years.
I'm not. Yeah, at
6
least
years?
He came in the same time as Nunez was responsible for really turning around the athletic department after all the accounting and financial stuff they had going on, and really helped turn it around. I think he was instrumental for both the hiring of Coach Patino and a lot of work for both football and basketball. I was hoping when I went to the game down here in San Jose, I went to my spot on Media Row, and I saw the name tag next to me was Dave Williams. I was a little nervous to be having to sit between Dave Williams and Jeff Grammer, but Dave thankfully sat up with the fans, so I didn't have that pressure. But great job by him. Can see why Eddie wants him as his right-hand man, and can also understand why Dave wants to move on after being passed up to be the AD at UNM. And Lovo, like you've mentioned to me, Eric, probably wants to bring in his own guys to get things rolling his way.
Mhm.
Yep. So, Rick, I'm going to keep it with you, let you sign us out. This live show will also be turned into a podcast format, so you can actually go back and listen to it later this week. All of our podcasts can be caught on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website, and we'll also be coming to you later this week with a full in-depth preview of the Utah State game, which is, man, a matchup I've really been looking forward to for most of the season. Once Utah State really got rolling, I think I would like to see the Lobos get their shot at what is considered to be the top dogs in the Mountain West. See how they match up with that matchup zone, and I think they pose a lot of problems. They're a really good and fun team to watch, but Lobos are kind of playing well at the right time too. So, Ed, do you have any final thoughts before I let Rick kind of close us out?
No, you know what? No, I think I'm looking forward to that Utah State game and our preview that we'll do later in the week. It's going to be a great matchup, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm grateful Utah State has to play UNLV one more time before hosting the Lobos. I'm reaching out to my friends that are coaches over there under Alvin Broussard at Academy, and I'm asking them, how would you guys beat this matchup zone if you were the Lobos? So I'm trying to get some ideas for us guys and for the team. But we want to thank you guys all for joining us tonight. Sorry we had a little hiccup at the beginning, but we're glad to have everyone listening and commenting. We'll probably join you later in the week. Get ready for probably the matchup of the year. Great game over there at Vegas. Let's keep it rolling, Lobos. Thank you again to all the Pit Press listeners. We'll catch you guys on the next one.